continuing with point number 1, don't abandon God. So in a God-based society, faith leads to virtue, and these old-fashioned concepts on this branching tree, old-fashioned concepts such as chastity, modesty, tolerance, self-control, industry, charity, and thrift. When you get rid of God, which is the whole goal of cultural Marxism, and faith, then you abolish virtue and replace it with humanism, secularism, or atheism. And then this spreads throughout the society. Chastity and modesty give way to sexual liberation, adultery, illegitimacy, abortion, epidemic of divorce, and the homosexual agenda. Tolerance gives way to political correctness and total intolerance of opposing viewpoints. Self-control gives way to an anything-goes mentality, soaring crime, and a police state to control the crime. Industry and charity are replaced by the welfare state, income transfers, entitlements, idleness, drugs, and actually in some cities bans on private charity. Private charities aren't allowed to provide food or charitable benefits to people in need. Thrift is replaced by greed, public debt, private debt, and inflation. Rule number 2, combating cultural Marxism, don't be intimidated or silenced. Christians are extremely tolerant and thus uniquely susceptible to attack. Sometimes silence is golden, but at other times it's just yellow. Here's a quote from the book of Esther. Mordecai says, "If you remain completely silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise from another place, but you and your father's house will perish. Yet who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this?" Principle number 3, combating cultural Marxism. Don't compromise, sit it out, or be neutral. So-called values voters are crucial and must be involved. Reject the social versus economic conservative division. Social and economic conservatives are, or should be, one and the same. Remember that the principle of the New Left and Herbert Marcuse and critical theory is criticism that's meant to destroy, not improve American society. This is not like a loving parent telling their child to sit up straight and eat their vegetables. This is more like a parent telling their child that they're no good, never will be any good, and should just give up. Compromising with the radical left and the cultural Marxists means incremental loss. Compromise is not an option. The radical left must be defeated, peacefully of course, at the polls. Number 4, don't neglect your homework. Address each institution that the cultural Marxists have subverted and embrace the Western Judeo-Christian tradition as an option. Exercise your choice before you lose it. Sometimes you'll have to boycott institutions if necessary, or consider parallel options. Here's an example: education. We have many wonderful public school teachers, but unfortunately they're trapped in a dying framework thanks to many Supreme Court decisions since the 1960s, banning prayer in school, banning the Ten Commandments, banning any sort of religious instruction in a public setting. So we have options such as private Christian schools, or homeschooling, or vouchers and school choice. There are even many conservative colleges, such as Hillsdale College in Michigan, or these other colleges. Colleges should just say no to oppression studies. Here's a funny picture of a lady holding up a sign, $96,000 for a BA in Hispanic, Transgender, Gay, and Lesbian Studies, and I can't find work. Here's another example of businesses that have weighed in on the cultural war. We now have openly pro-gay businesses such as JCPenney, Starbucks, Home Depot. Home Depot has representatives marching in various gay pride parades. General Mills, Cheerios, Kraft has created the Rainbow Oreo. And then on the other hand, we have businesses who choose to stay neutral, such as ExxonMobil, Dollar General, Lowe's, Dish Network, and Harley Davidson. So shop accordingly. Or here's another example. Choose the news that you listen to carefully. Avoid the liberal slant, such as ABC, NBC, CBS, and all the others. The New York Times, Washington Post, the so-called mainstream media. Choose instead more centrist or conservative alternatives such as CNS News, Drudge Report, Fox News, Washington Times, or WorldNet Daily. Rule number 5, don't give up. Cultural Marxism is really a form of psychological operations to discourage us, so we abandon America without a fight. Just remember, it took the cultural Marxists almost a century to get us in this fix, and it may take a century to reverse course. We'll always have weeds, which is one way to look at the cultural Marxists, and it's a constant battle to keep them from overwhelming your yard, but you cannot give up. Or, here's another way of looking at it. The zombies cannot be reasoned with. They can and must be defeated, again, peacefully, of course, at the polls. We outnumber them 2-1 when polls are taken of people who self-describe as conservative versus liberal. Conservatives outnumber liberals 2-1 in the United States. Change we can believe in. Number 6, don't surrender posterity. The left wants your children and grandchildren, but don't surrender them. As Reagan said, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on to them to do the same, or one day we will spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it was once like in the United States, where men were free. And finally, rule number 7, never believe the opposition. The new left and the hard left and the cultural Marxists must lie because their worldview is based on a false belief system divorced from reality. Question and independently verify everything. For further reference, I would refer you to Cultural Marxism, a movie made in 2010, and these websites.